This Colorado case is the strongest case to emerge yet, highlighting that the plaintiffs have standing, right? That's a word with which you are very familiar. Those of us who are not lawyers don't really understand. But this has been tried before in Florida, and they said the voter doesn't have standing. It's not up to a random voter to decide whether or not another American citizen has the right to run for office. Talk to me about this. There's something actually about Colorado law that makes this a little more, in large tribes' view, a little more meaty.
Well, I'm certainly not going to disagree with Professor Tribe, whose books I've read and been trained under his tutelage at Howard Law School. But let me just say this. I believe he's right about Colorado law because there's a specific statute that enables the public, the voters, to bring this challenge in state district court. It empowers them to get a decision, or the court to give a decision. Findings of fact, conclusions of law are what we need here. Constitution doesn't have any guidance for us, right? And so it's a living document. None of these provisions die. And so you've got to interpret it as if we're in 2023, which we are. And what we usually will do is file a lawsuit, have some findings of fact by a jury or a judge, reach some conclusions of law, let the parties appeal it, gets to the Supreme Court. If you get a finding of fact or a conclusion of law in the judicial system, then you can rely on that. But let's remember one last thing. In most jurisdictions, voters have standing to administratively challenge before their Board of Election and Ethics to throw somebody off the ballot. If you're in political competition or a candidate, you can always move to throw somebody off the ballot. And that's what's really powerful about Colorado. You can do this in many other jurisdictions simply through the administrative process, that then you can go through the appellate process until you get a final decision from the Supreme Court. This is a really important development. We need to look closely at it and stay focused on it. This is going to be a fact-finding mission, and the judge in the court is going to have to reach a conclusion. Showing support through his First Amendment for people who attack the Capitol, that may be disgusting and ridiculous, but he's got a First Amendment to do that. What's more important is, did his words drive that insurrection and his subsequent support? Yeah, those are positive facts for the plaintiffs in that Colorado case, that in fact he's engaged in support. But to enforce it, because the Constitution doesn't give us any guidance, to enforce it, a judicial decision has to be made, whether it's by a judge or by a jury, to really enforce that. But remember one thing, the power of this approach in regard to the Colorado and keeping them off the ballots is even more powerful than the criminal piece, because it can be more efficient. But here's what we should be paying attention to. Donald Trump doesn't have a campaign. His criminal prosecutions are his campaign, and his criminal prosecutions are part of his political process. If he gets off the ballot, that's even more powerful than him being criminally convicted, which is why this lawsuit in Colorado, and there will be others around the country, are what we really ought to be watching, because if he's not off the ballot, then he can't be elected. And he can't be elected, as a political fundraising dries up and he becomes irrelevant, although he will continue to be in the press, of course.